3, 2, 1. Hey, welcome to Cross Politic. Chocolate Knox is not here, but he is here. He's coming on third segment.
He is.
We also have Steve Deace coming on. So exciting.
Yeah.
We're going to get into Trump impeachment. That might be coming in the Senate.
Divided Congress.
Yeah,
Gridlock in the Senate.
that's right.
This is a post-mill show. It gets better and better. It starts with just me and Gabe. We're
I know.
sorry.
Yeah.
We're sorry. But
Yeah.
it gets better.
Yeah.
Wait for third segment.
And just so you know, I don't like doing this show without Knox at all.
No, we don't like it at all.
I feel like my left hand has been sliced off.
Especially because the coffee's not as good.
It's definitely not as good. Toby made the coffee.
I mean, it is cross-politic coffee, so it's better than most.
Yep.
It's Sovereignty Roast, which
Yep.
you can get from the merch store. But it's not as good when Knox doesn't make it.
That's right.
But it
That's
is
right.
in my founder's mug because I'm thinking of you, Knox.
Hey, you guys, we got our magazine subscription. It's coming out, and it's going to be delivered starting March 1st-ish.
Yeah.
So we're going to do 4 magazines a year, every quarter, and then we're going to end with the Christmas issue. Pretty excited about that.
Oh, yeah.
And, the goal of this is, as you guys know, is like we want to do a mini kind of book experience every quarter with various authors on a theme, on a topic. This next magazine issue is The Joy of the Lord is Our Strength, or Joy in Strength. And it's kind of, we're kind of prepping you, getting you ready for Easter.
That's right.
Getting you ready for Resurrection Sunday.
You got to celebrate.
So we're pretty excited about that. I thought you were going to talk more for a second. We're just going to celebrate. And I'm like, what else? Oh. Where's Knox? This studio's falling apart over here. So make sure you guys join up, get a subscription. There's also, you can do a gift subscription, as we talked about. Get one for your crazy uncle, get one for your pastor, elders, church, business. Send a couple to Tim Keller.
And JD Greer.
And JD Greer.
He needs a subscription.
Yeah, seriously. And then now that President Trump's not in the office anymore, send him a copy. You know, he has more time to read now. So get him a copy.
All right.
Make sure you guys also join us in South Dakota. I'm so excited about this conference.
Yes.
Steve Deace, who's coming on in the second segment, he's speaking at the conference.
Love God, sing psalms,
That's right.
defy tyrants.
So sign up now. There's all sorts of speakers coming. Hopefully, I got a couple. We pull out my cowboy hat. Remember we talked about how we pull things out of my cowboy hat?
No, we don't.
Hopefully we got a couple things I'm working on with some speakers that should just be super exciting for that conference.
And
Plus,
there's going to be shirts.
it's a family integrated conference. I have people still kind of email saying, "Hey, can I bring my kids?" I'm like, "Yeah, you can sign your kids up on the page." So make sure you bring your kids.
We need the kids singing psalms, especially because Psalm 8 says that out of the mouth of nursing babes and infants, God has ordained strength.
Yep.
When they sing, especially,
that's right.
That's when God does His mighty works. And yes, summer, there will be shirts. Okay, got that clarified.
Yeah, love God, sing psalms, defy tyrants. Shirts. There you go. Yep.
Yeah.
Summer was wondering.
There was a little thing on Twitter this week about it, and
I posted.
Anyways, it was kind of hilarious. But also, don't forget the Fight Laugh Feast scholarship. The deadline is like now. It's like tomorrow.
February 1st.
If you're watching this Sunday night, it's like now. So go on. Make sure if you got accepted to NSA and you're male, according to God and biology, you can sign up for this Fight Laugh Feast scholarship. It's almost half of your tuition for a year at New St. Andrews College here in Moscow, Idaho. We're really excited about the ones that have already applied for the scholarship. Right. We're looking forward to looking at those essays and picking one for this next year. Classical Conversations supports homeschooling parents by cultivating the love of learning through a Christian worldview and fellowship with other families. They provide a classical, Christ-centered curriculum, local like-minded communities across the United States, in fact, in several countries around the world. They train parents who are striving to be great classical educators at home. For more information and to get connected, visit their website, classicalconversations.com. Classical, Christian, get connected, get community. This episode is brought to you by Classical Conversations.
Love those guys. Check them out. Make sure that you guys go to their website. Check them out. If you guys end up going there, tell them that Cross Politics sent you. That's really helpful for them and how they partner with us and everything. As we covered on the show, this was our midweek fix where we talked about kind of Joe Biden's...
Without Knox.
Yeah, without Knox. We talked about Joe Biden's executive orders.
Yeah.
Well, one of his executive orders was requiring everybody on federal property
to wear masks.
And interstate commerce in the air travel and trains to wear masks, because apparently he has authority to do that over on federal properties and buildings and so forth. So he wrote this executive order, which incidentally everyone was already doing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right. Everyone in the federal buildings were already required to wear masks, or it was already happening.
It's
It's such a virtue signal.
It's like, no. I'm going to tell you to do it. No,
exactly.
I'm going to tell you to do it. Now that I'm the leader of the House of Representatives,
so he's
president.
He's serious. I mean, they think the masks are going to save 30, 40,000, 50,000 people's lives.
Oh, great.
Yeah, seriously. And so, the press secretary, his press secretary, who's up on the screen right now, she was talking about it with one of the reporters here since he signed that executive order. Let's see what happens.
Why weren't President Biden and all members of the Biden family masked at all times on federal lands last night if he signed an executive order that mandates masks on federal lands at all times?
At the inaugural...
At the Lincoln Memorial, yes.
I think, Steve, he was celebrating an evening of a historic day.
You don't have to wear masks when
and
you're
certainly
celebrating.
He signed the mask mandate because it's a way to send a message to the American public about the importance of wearing masks, how it can save tens of thousands of lives. We take a number of COVID precautions, as you know, here in terms of testing, social distancing, mask wearing ourselves, as we do every single day. But I don't know that I have more for you on it than that.
But as Joe Biden often talks about, it is not just important the example of power, but the power of our example. Was that a good example for people who are watching who might not pay attention normally?
Well, Steve, I think the power of his example is also the message he sends by signing 25 executive orders, including almost half of them related to COVID. The requirements that we're all under every single day here to ensure we're sending that message to the public. Yesterday was a historic moment in our history. He was inaugurated as President of the United States. He was surrounded by his family. We take a number of precautions, but I think we have bigger issues to worry about at this moment in time. Go ahead, Anita.
Let's move on. Go ahead, Anita.
The important thing was that he signed the executive order, not that he's obeying it. Because he was celebrating with his family.
His example was signing the order.
You guys should just print out pictures of Biden without a mask on federal property. And when anybody asks you, just say, no, I'm celebrating.
That's right.
I'm just celebrating.
I'm celebrating at work. I'm going to work and I'm celebrating.
I'm celebrating with my family.
Yep. You see? Is that okay?
Just like the president.
How many? Isn't there like a video collage out there? Or we probably even played it on the show where every leader who's been pushing for masks at some level, Nancy Pelosi, all these people are basically L.A. mayor are hypocrites.
No one obeys it all the time. No one obeys it all the time. We've talked about it a lot. I mean, even going to the barbershop that's not open, whatever, going get your hair done. That's right. Going on vacation and telling people make sure you stay home. Don't go to restaurants and then you go across the border to go to some restaurant. Absolutely, they're not actually obeying these things. Meanwhile, the Biden cabinet is being trailed by ethics concerns.
Surprise. Surprise.
Already.
Biden's been in office for 47 years, since he's like 29.
It's talking about the assistant health secretary dude in the dress, right?
No. These
because that's my ethics concern right now.
Yeah.
Is that the one they're worried about?
That's probably the biggest one. No.
I mean, the dude shouldn't be wearing a dress. Why do we have cross dressers in the All right.
Well, this really shouldn't be a surprise. I mean, Biden's been in office for 47 years, some sort of federal office for 47 years. Yeah. And his son's been caught in all sorts of ethics concerns.
Right.
Biden probably has a trail of ethics, So
Rhode Island Governor Raimondo.
He's going to be the Commerce Secretary pick. So that's Biden's Commerce Secretary pick.
Face ethics complaint from an adversarial state GOP that took issue with a $1 billion contract extension with a gaming company.
IGT.
Without a competitive bidding process. In 2020, the state's ethics commission dismissed the complaint, which alleged a conflict of interest since
All Democrats.
IGT's lobbyist Donald Schweitzer was also working with the Democratic Governors Association, which Raimondo led. Oh, that's nice.
So, and what's crazy about this is if you guys, I'm sure, I used to work with a company where we did a lot with government contracts and everything.
Yeah.
Doing an extension without a competitive bid process is normally not ethical. It's normally not how it goes. Yeah. And even the more money that's involved in that competitive bid process, the more checks and balances that they have in all this.
Right, because they want to make sure that people are not just making contracts with their buddies.
That's right.
And then because if you have a kickback system or one particular buddy who's you're doing it all, you can get higher more money involved and you can ratchet it up and people start.
And part of it, competitive bid process, just kind of helps save the government money or the taxpayer dollars because it's introducing competition. And they didn't do it on $1 billion contract.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Boston Mayor Marty Walsh is another one. He's Biden's pick to lead the Labor Department.
Listen to
faces
this.
scrutiny after campaign filings showed he paid his girlfriend's fundraising consulting firm over $1 million. Oops.
Was it worth it?
In an October 2012 conversation recorded through federal wiretaps, thank you, George Bush, for the Patriot Act.
Yeah,
Walsh informed a local union leader that he had told housing developer Avalon Bay Communities that it would face permitting delays if it did not hire union workers for a planned project.
Labor secretary.
Yeah, this sounds like this is going to be great. In a separate incident in December 2012, a developer told the Boston Globe that Walsh had pressured him to rescind building contracts awarded to non-union contractors. Oops.
Yeah, that labor secretary. And he's forcing union plays.
So remember, all these picks actually have to get approved by the Senate.
Yeah, right.
So dude in the dress. I don't know. Does he have to get approved by the Senate? He's assistant health.
He's
director.
assistant health.
Maybe assistant health.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why he did the assistant rather than the director. Then they'd have to have a dude in the dress in the Senate. But anyways, there might have been a few dudes in the dresses in the Senate already over many years. I think some of those dudes,
they're probably at least in their own homes.
Yeah, right.
Doing something.
So you have a 50-50 split in the Senate, right? Basically.
With Kamala Harris as the tie. The vice president will be the tie in that.
Technically 2 independents, but they don't even count. They're just Democrats.
And then there's Machen from West Virginia.
Manchin. Please don't
I know, my
mistake
fault.
him with Machen.
Manchin from West Virginia, who seems to be kind of
a little bit more
moderate.
Yeah. And a couple of the Democrat senators from Arizona are also said to be that way. So
we'll see.
But basically, it's interesting in this divided Senate. Currently, McConnell and the Republicans still hold majorities on committees.
Yeah, right.
And when you have a new Senate, even though now you have an even split, you have to agree basically on what they call a power sharing deal.
Right.
And we had this back in 2001 where there was a Republican executive, George Bush, and then you had a 50-50 split, but it was considered a Republican majority because you had the vice president breaking that tie.
Right.
But now in order to agree on a power sharing thing, basically McConnell is using the fact that they have a majority on most of the committees as sort of a bargaining chip with the Democrats to try to get a decent power sharing deal.
And part of it is because you have this split, 50-50 split, well, you have no authority to change the heads of the chairs in these committees.
Right.
And so you're jammed. And so obviously all the chairs of the committees were Republican. Right. And carrying over to 2021, they can't change that because they're 50-50 split.
One of the other protections we can thank our forefathers for is there's this filibuster thing where most bills have to be, in order to be passed through debate to be finished, and then brought to the floor for a full vote. They have to pass a 60-vote threshold.
Right.
To advance most bills.
Right.
And so what can happen is if you've only got 59 for it, you can a minority can hold out and say they're not going to vote to move it to vote. And this is something that is actually slows this bad stuff down.
Right.
And so so McConnell's trying to use that as well. Basically making who's the Democrat is Chuck Schumer, who will be the new sort of leader of the Senate. He's making
the tied leader of the Senate,
but sort of de facto. Yeah. They want Schumer to agree to not end that filibuster protection in exchange for a power sharing agreement, and they've got to figure this out.
But I don't even know why that's really a bargaining chip for Schumer, because you need 60 votes to actually overturn the filibuster itself.
But I guess McConnell doesn't even want it to be on the table.
Yeah,
that's the deal. So anyways, that's in the works. It might seem like who cares? The Democrats won.
Right.
Well, no. We should understand how our government works.
Right.
You should want to know how your representatives and how your senators are voting. Right. How are they thinking about this? They're still your representative. They still need to be faithful where they are.
Right.
And these are details that actually really matter quite a bit. So,
and it's going to matter because on Monday they're going to accept. Remember the House impeached Trump.
Right.
And so on Monday they're going to accept those those articles of impeachment.
You're going to receive them.
And receive them in the Senate. And then in the Senate, you have I think you're required within 12 hours or something to start the trial, the impeachment trial, after you receive those documents from the House.
Okay.
So you have a time clock where you have to receive those. Once you receive those documents, you have to start the trial. So now the Senate is going to be debating on Trump's impeachment.
And the initial thing is actually going to be whether to have a hearing or not. So there needs to be,
because there's a debate on, can we impeach a president after he leaves office?
He's already left office.
That's right.
And we've talked about it a few times on this show, and I gave the arguments I think a week ago on why some are arguing that you can.
Right.
That the acts of impeachment and removal can be in some ways considered separate things.
Right.
I've read several other articles, and thanks to those of you that have sent them in to news@crosspolitic.com or tagged me online. And I think there is a stronger constitutional argument for the other way, for saying actually that they should not take up the trial,
right?
Because the bottom line being basically that process existed in state governments, which I pointed out before.
Right.
But the fact that the Constitution does not provide for that explicitly would seem to be very clearly an indication that. They didn't intend for that.
Right.
The one exception is there has been one guy who resigned, was immediately impeached by the House and then by the Senate and banned for life back in 1876 or something like that, which would be the one exceptional thing. But I think that doesn't mean though that they got it right.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, it'll be interesting to watch that. Remember that the Senate has to have 67 of its members, 2/3 of it. Have to vote to convict the former president in order for the article of impeachment to pass, and then they would have to have a separate vote on whether to ban Trump from ever holding federal office again, which would stop future bids for re-election.
Steve Deace said on his show, he's coming up in the second segment. Yeah. But Steve Deace said on his show. You can even
hit the music right now.
Oh, okay. I'll just do that.
While you're doing it, yeah.
Steve Deace said on his show, we don't want this music. We'll let it happen.
It's fine.
11. He said on a show a couple weeks ago that you just pray to God that all the Republican senators impeach Trump.
Yeah.
He's like, just do it, because this is a good way to start burning the Republican Party down.
We need a massive transformation. We need a reformation of the Republican Party. Steve Deace is up next.
I'm excited. This guy, he's on fire.
And then Knox. Third segment.
When a medical need arises, hundreds of thousands of Christians across the nation care for one another by sharing financially for those medical needs. Samaritan members pray and reflect God's love and care by providing for one another. While times continue to change, God's love doesn't. He cares for us as we are called to care for one another.
It's like deja vu.
Yeah. And they don't even know. Hiya!
Welcome back to Cross Politic. Sorry, it's still just me and Gabe.
Sunday special. Knox is going to be coming on, though.
Yeah. Just
Patience.
Hold
He's
on.
coming on.
Third segment.
He's coming.
We've been told he's coming on. Hey, with us right now on the line, though, we got another white guy, Steve Deace. He's conservative American talk show host. He also runs a podcast on YouTube called The Michigan Podcast. Ooh. He now appears on Blaze TV, the Blaze Radio Network, and podcasts on The Steve Deace Show with co-hosts Todd Erzin and Aaron McIntyre, airing Monday through Friday from noon to 2 Eastern on The Blaze. But that's not all. Not only has he been on Cross Politics several times, he is coming to the Fight, Laugh, Feast rally in South Dakota, the freest state in the union, with the only governor who read the Constitution. And so, Steve, thanks for coming back on the show.
You bet, fellas. This worked out great. Your taping schedule aligned with a day I had off, which is rare, so it's good to talk to you again.
Brilliant. Thanks for joining us. So, Steve, first of all, it's good to see that you made it. You made it through all the crazy.
Well, I think your show kind of blew up this last year too.
And you're smiling.
Yeah.
But help us, please. Just what just happened to America?
I don't know that anything just happened, guys, as much as it's just the next level of what has been happening.
Okay.
There's a best-selling book somewhere. I think one of its lines, something along the lines of, sow the wind, reap the whirlwind, or something like that. Do not be deceived. God will not be mocked.
Best-selling book.
Will always reap what he sows.
Yeah.
Did you remember this book?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just think you watched a fall harvest of what's been going on in the culture for quite a long time. And I think this is just the next iteration of it. And to borrow another metaphor from that famous book, the contractions are just kind of coming closer in our culture now. But guys, I'll tell you, I was deeply disappointed. I went from not being able to bring myself to vote for Trump 4 years ago to this past year, using every resource I had, every relationship I had, to get them to stop with the COVID panic porn, to look at the science. I felt like now I'm actually fighting harder to get this guy reelected than he is much of last year.
Right.
I thought he earned my vote. Not, hey, look how bad the Democrats are. I thought he objectively earned my vote with his policies. I voted for him. I don't believe he lost the election. I do believe it was stolen. And no, I've never looked at a Dominion flow chart. I just looked at the votes themselves, and the math doesn't add up. But with all that notwithstanding, and yes, I'm well aware of what awaits, but that's actually why I'm excited. Because I think we have something we have lacked for a long time in America, and that is clarity. We know where everybody stands now. We know who everybody is. There aren't any more wolves in sheep's clothing, guys.
Yeah.
There's just sheep, wolves, and then sheep dogs. That's all that's left. and we're good. And you know what? That's when our belief system does its best work. It doesn't like the muck and the mire and the moral pea soup. Where it shines and thrives is when there's clarity. And there's clarity in America right now.
So what do you mean there's clarity? We know where Mitch McConnell stands, or what? I mean, what do you mean? What is that clarity?
Well, that's it. That's an example of what I mean, but I mean like on a macro level. I've never seen a more clarifying force in the history of American politics. I don't know of one. The level of people who literally just, hey, it's Donald Trump, let me sell out to him. Oh, hey, it's Donald Trump. Let me, make myself ridiculous because he's around me. I mean, the amount of people. I mean, it's almost like, I'm not drawing an equivalency, but it's almost like the American political system saw Donald Trump the last few years and came up to him seething, "Had you come to persecute us before the appointed time, son of man?" That's almost what it was like. And people just went out of their way to say, "I will prostitute myself for Trump." Just went out of their way to say, "I will prostitute myself to oppose Donald Trump even when he's right." Yeah. And I mean, there's a marker that's been laid down for a guy that has lived most of his almost 80 years in the gray. He was the most clarifying thing we've ever seen. And I think we're better off from a cultural standpoint than we were before he took over because of that. They're not lying over there anymore. On the other side, on my show, we talk about two Americas, the left America and what's left of America. Mm-hmm. And in the left America, they're not lying anymore. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're literally out there prowling, dancing around in red unitards and pitchforks, okay? The reality is, if the church cannot rise up and thrive in this environment, then, the culture is dead and is probably getting what it deserves, sad as that may be.
Well,
real quick.
The assistant health director being a dude in a dress. Yeah. It's kind of one of those other classic things where it's like, I think even Obama might have been a little bit embarrassed of that. I don't know. But it's like Biden's like, let's come together and, I'm going to have my health director be a dude in a dress.
Right. Real quick, Steve.
And let me use my pen and a phone. In 48 hours, he's eliminated about 80% of the Trump presidency in 48 hours.
Right. I want to talk about that more. Real quick, Steve, I had Dave Bonson on my show yesterday to talk about the good, bad, and the ugly of Trump. Could you just maybe take 2 minutes to kind of summarize what you see was the good, the bad, and the ugly in the last 4 years, was specifically with Trump?
I think the strength of Trump's presidency was his transactionalism, and the weakness of his presidency was his transactionalism. Meaning, I think his greatest victories were on foreign policy. I think he laid down a marker in Riyadh in May of 2017, his first big speech when he went to Saudi Arabia. Mm-hmm. And he said, hey, we're not here now to colonize. We're not here to spread democracy. If you leave us alone, we'll leave you alone. If you guys want what we want and want to make money, we'll do that. Stay out of our way, though. We don't care. You get in our way, we're going to make you wish that your father had worn a prophylactic that night. And I think that statement worked. If you look at the peace deals that were done, no new wars that were done, that transactionalism worked. When he had the power and authority of the White House to unilaterally act on our behalf, right. He almost always did because he knew that he owed us, right? Uh-huh. But where the transactionalism ultimately brought down his presidency is he really went to Washington, I believe thinking that he could art of the deal this thing.
Yeah.
That he could just put Mitch McConnell's wife in the White House, people like Rex Tillerson and Reince Priebus on his staff, and that the Republican Party would embrace him with open arms, outsource the repeal of Obamacare to Paul Ryan, and he could be trusted because we're all now one big happy Republican family.
Right.
And the fact that he never drained the swamp ended up being his undoing, handing his presidency over to Anthony Fauci and Debbie Birx. He never recovered from that.
Yeah.
All right. And so the transactionalism is what ultimately did him in. And for us moving forward with political engagement, the lesson that we have learned here is we need a guy with his messaging, but with convictionalism instead of transactionalism.
Huh.
Yeah.
So what's the next 4 years look like, you think, Steve? Especially for conservatives, what's left of America.
Yeah.
What do we do for the next 4 years?
Is the COVID over?
Well, the first thing we do is, we preach the word in season and out of season. He has shown you, oh man, what is right?
Yep.
These are eternal things. We don't change whether the Islamic hordes are invading Cappadocia or whether we're signing the Declaration of Independence.
Right.
We don't change.
Right.
We do what we were just called to do, come what may, and let this world do its worst. From a political standpoint, though, I think we need to be more concerned about the next 6 months than the next 4 years, and here's why. There's going to be unprecedented assaults on not just our values, but the platforms by which that we stand for them and communicate them.
Yep.
That I think we've got to get through this year where we survive, because next year will be an election year in the midterms and they'll largely feast on each other.
Right.
But with Trump out of the way, this year they're going to take all the energy they have spent on him the last few years, and they're going to spend it on us now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so this year we either hang together or we hang separately. And you asked me about the COVID. It's funny because there's these dueling pulses on their side, where they have the Branch Covidian cult that wants to believe this is the Black Plague, and it's not. Okay, it's serious, but it's not the Black Plague. But then there's a lot of people on their side that like to talk the woke game, but really the Cuomo brothers would like to be in their box seats at Yankee Stadium for opening day, guys, and for the All-Star break at the absolute latest. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Okay, and you're already seeing this now. Just since the election and since the inauguration, the World Health Organization has said what I said months ago that Facebook crushed my page for, that we shouldn't be testing asymptomatic people, that our cycle thresholds are too sensitive,
too high,
too high. WHO's admitted this now. We've now got Democrat governors in Kansas, New York, saying we need to reopen our states. The Democrat mayor in Chicago has told the teacher unions, if you don't show up for work in person, you're all fired.
Hilarious.
The Republican governors in Massachusetts and Maryland, both anti-Trump, pro-lockdown guys, are now talking about reopening their states and are actually making moves to do so. What a coincidence. It's like the vaccine. Is it Is it the Astra vaccine? Is it Pfizer? Is it Johnson & Johnson? No, folks. It's the Biden vaccine. They won the orange man election. Lockdowns are no good to them anymore. And a whole lot of people voted for them, believing that they would get things back to normal.
Right.
They can't sit here and cater to this Branch Covidian cult all this year and not reopen things. If they do that, they're losing 60 to 70 House seats next year.
Right.
Wow.
They have to be saviors now.
I'd
They
say
have to be the savior.
That clip alone is why you need to come to our rally in South Dakota. That was fantastic.
April 29, 30,
There we
May
go.
1. Go to FLF Network /rally. Register today. So you said we've got to stand together or we're going to hang together. What does that actually look like practically, Steve? I mean, from Washington, D.C., but all the way down to my local, city and county and state. What does that look like to stand together?
I think we've got to be, because I have a tendency to do this, and this is my New Year's resolution, is to point the finger back at myself more often, okay? So I work with a great company called The Blaze. I mean, they are phenomenal. I get to do the show after Glenn Beck. That's a pretty good lead-in, right?
Sweet.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we have things that we could do better. For example, one of the strengths of The Blaze is every show has its own orbit, its own ecosystem, its own independence. But that's also one of the weaknesses. So with my new book, A Nefarious Carol, plug, I was just on Allie Beth Stuckey's show.
Yep.
And I can't tell you how many people in her audience emailed me afterwards and said, now this is a largely evangelical audience.
Yep.
We're on the same platform. And a lot of her audience was like, wow, I've never heard of you before. And I think what we have to do is is we got to coordinate one another more often. We have to share one another on one another's platforms more often. I think we have to create, it's what I've been telling my audience about disobeying the COVID edicts. They can arrest one salon owner. They can't arrest 15 of them.
That's right.
They can arrest one restaurant or gym opener. They can't arrest 15 or 20 of them.
Right.
They can throw out 2 or 3 people that show up at Walmart without a mask.
Right.
They can't throw out 40 or 50 people that do it. Right. The triple braided cord is tougher to break. And I think what we've got to view ourselves as now is again, that's kind of my buzzword at the moment, our own ecosystem. And we have to operate as one where we're constantly sharing one another and one another's works on various platforms so that, hey, Facebook has crushed 72% of my Facebook traffic for being right about COVID in the last month and a half. All right. But you know what? If you guys share it and other people with platforms watching this share it, they can't crush all of you, right? That's more of what we need to do is be intentional about being our own economy of scale from a cultural standpoint.
Steve, when I was thinking about that's really good and really helpful. The thinking about the COVID, this transformation of the COVID messaging.
It's a miracle.
The miracle here. Now,
touch the hem of Biden's dimension.
Part of me, is thinking, this, massive conspiracy, and I think there's probably really have been people saying, no, we're not going to run that story yet. No, wait. Wait till the inauguration. The flip side of me also thinks that there's something deep in the human psyche, the masses, who really have been trained to believe that Trump really was the devil, that Trump really was, this new Hitler sort of regime coming in, that real fascism about to take over. And there's something about, suddenly this deep relief, he's gone. And suddenly the sun comes out and you start looking at things a little more clearly. And it seems very possible to me, at least, plausible to me, that a lot of people suddenly are being able to see a little bit more clearly. They're not as terrified because of Trump. And then they look around and they think, well, I guess we got to go back to life now. And it's a lot to that. It's wrong, but
those things work symbiotically, by the way, brother.
Exactly.
The enemy understands human nature, and so he plays his plots to coincide with our impulses, right? But there's a lot to that. Now, listen, I don't believe Donald Trump legitimately lost the election, and I've argued it a million times.
Right.
One of my best friends, Congressman Shiproy of Texas, thinks I'm wrong. I think he's wrong. Okay.
Sure.
But that notwithstanding, the reality is, the reason we had the mail-in vote scheme that either A, produced a bunch of legitimate vote drops from Nimrods who didn't understand how to mail their ballot on time at 4 a.m., or B, was a literal ballot harvesting process.
Right.
Either one, whichever interpretations of those events you have, the reason why we had it is because Donald Trump surrendered his cojones and his office to Anthony Fauci and Debbie Birx and to lockdown and to COVID panic. And that set the stage for the mail-in voting scheme that the pagans have wanted for 20 years. Okay. Right. And so this goes to, we have to take, I'm not a big believer in victimology on any level. We have to take responsibility for the mistakes that the guys wearing our uniforms, the guys wearing, representing our team, so to speak, that they make. You can't argue about, we got robbed by the refs. Well, I don't know. Don't fumble the 1 yard line in the second quarter. It doesn't matter what the heck the refs say at the end of the game.
That's right.
And so that's what we've got to take stock of, is the mistakes that he made. And I thought Angelo Codevilla has a phenomenal piece at American Greatness.
Yes.
And one of the sections of the piece was the dog that barked and never bites. Okay. And he talked about something that I've described on my show many times, where Donald Trump would jump on Twitter. All right, we're going to do this radical action because of you lefties. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. And like, oh, the left is on fire, man. They light themselves on fire. It's self-immolation. Joy Reid's had her 19th nervous breakdown on MSNBC, right? And so they show up in Megiddo for the fight. And then Trump never bothers to show and never does it.
Right.
And so we get all the blowback for his claims of radicalism, but then none of the benefit from him actually doing it to punish them.
Right.
That's the worst case scenario in politics. Never, ever attack which you are not willing to kill. He committed that political sin numerous times, especially in the last year and a half.
Yeah.
And that was the undoing of his presidency. So that he made their base max lit 24/7, 365 days a year. And then he would often argue with his own base, hey, I'm never going to sign one of these omnibus spending bills again, I promise. Then he signed like 4 more. Right? And so that you can't do. Don't lay down markers. Don't walk into the Valley of Elah with 5 smooth stones if you ain't planning on using a slingshot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's right. Amen. You know, Steve, I think maybe this is for our generation, but I think my generation has more kind of cynical distrust for politicians than our previous generation.
I agree.
Before us. And so even Rand Paul, who I would support, but I just don't have a problem like trusting even guys that I have an affinity towards.
So you paid attention for 10 minutes.
Exactly. Okay. So now that Trump's out of office, part of me just wants to burn everything down. Like let's get Mitch McConnell out. Let's get Lindsey Graham out. Let's get all these politicians that have been lifers. Pardon me.
Yep. You had me at hello. Okay.
And so, and especially now, like the Republicans don't have any power in the House. They have a little bit of power in the Senate. They have no executive power. Well, now let's take these next 4 years to really cleanse and purge the Republican Party.
Okay, I'm in.
There you go. There you go.
100%, 10,000%. Now, I don't think. Now, I've been a strong advocate of an alternative to the Republican Party for several years. Mm-hmm. I've changed my mind in the last month, and there's one reason why. I saw what happened with Parler. All right?
Yeah.
At this point, it's beginning to look like we just did the January 6th episode to put Parler out of business, basically. Okay?
Yeah.
So Parler gets the #1 app in the world by creating a rival ecosystem to their Overton window on big tech, right?
Yeah.
And so they're independent of the system. And look, when they were no longer like a guy like Dan Bongino, for example, great guy, all right? His show really blew up in the last 2 years, and this was one of his babies, okay?
Right.
And so he gets Parler to the point where he says to Twitter, "I'm leaving. I'm out. Pour one out, 5,000." All right, and he goes over to Parler, where they've got millions of users now. Well, now that he's no longer under the protection of the official system, now they shut him down. Now they say it's hate speech. Now they got the Department of Justice. They got the House Democrats sent DOJ a referral to investigate Parler just yesterday. Okay. Wow. My fear now is if we jump out on our own independently, especially if we do it with like a Donald Trump as the front man for it.
Yeah.
5 minutes after we do this, we're all domestic terrorists.
Right.
We're all deplatformed.
Right.
Not only that, every bank will say we're not going to process your donations. None of that. I don't know if you guys have gone to that Gab that has its own servers. That's the Twitter competitor.
Yep.
All right.
There.
You can't pay. I want to subscribe to them. I have to freaking pay with Bitcoin. Okay. because no one will do business with them. Right.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
And so I'm now beginning to think in the last month that the best thing to do is to actually remain under the grandfathered brand of the GOP because it's already grandfathered through the Overton window.
Yeah.
But then while you're there, just wreak holy havoc. And by the way, if a terrible Republican wins the primary, don't vote for him in the general.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, it's just that simple.
Right.
I mean, if you can't get the job done in the primary, let the Democrats do the deed for you. Yeah. Because the reality is, if the last 30 years, what have we gotten by voting for a lot of bad Republicans because they weren't Democrats?
Yeah.
Where have we pushed back on the left on any front? There's one issue I can say that there's more freedom now than there was 25 years ago, and that's guns. Mm-hmm. And you know how it happened? Yeah. Here's how it happened. It's because gun owners of America developed enough of a base that they could legitimately threaten the NRA from the right as a competitor.
Right.
And that kept the NRA from just completely selling out like a lot of Washington, D.C. lobbying groups do.
And even then, they've still kind of sold out.
When it comes to the pro-life movement or any other issue.
Right. Yeah. Wow. Well, if you want more of this, folks,
I know.
You know where to go at the end of April. South Dakota. Register for the Fight Laugh Feast rally. Steve, thanks so much for coming back on the show. Really appreciate you, brother. Thanks for all your work. Hang on, we got one more segment with Knox.
Yeah, we're supposed to. He hasn't texted me back yet.
We'll see. We'll see if this show is really post-mill or not. Back after this.
Hi, I'm Robert Borton, CEO of Classical Conversations. Our most precious commodity is time. No one has ever lied on their deathbed wishing they had spent more time making money. They all wish they had spent more time creating a legacy. Our modern education system steals that legacy, steals that time from our children. That's why I'm passionate about homeschooling. That's why at Classical Conversations we want to give you more time to create that legacy, follow your passions, and glorify God. Visit classicalconversations.com for more information.
I got the controls.
Hey!
I got the control. Which camera do I look at?
I don't even know. He was moving them all around
I know.
during the break. Hey, welcome back to Cross Politic, y'all. This is a post-millennial show because it's getting better and better and better.
Yep.
And hey, look who's on. Look who we got. Look.
My homie.
Oh.
He's been gone the whole week. And if you guys don't support us and join the club, like Knox got to do this. He got to leave. I don't like it when it leaves.
Oh, that's what it takes.
Everything falls apart when Knox leaves.
Hey, welcome back to Cross Politic. This segment is brought to you by, hey, look at my mug. It's my founder's mug.
Wow.
Hey.
Wow.
And first of all,
Wow.
Knox,
Yeah.
I had to make my own coffee this morning.
And it's all right. It's all right.
And it's not as good as usual.
Oh,
It's a little heavy and it's a little thick. I mean, I saw.
problems, gentlemen.
Hey, Knox, I saw the grounds. They were like, it was like powder. I'm like, Toby, you don't turn coffee into powder.
No, you want a coarse coffee. First of all, I just want to say I want to apologize to everybody. I don't know how much Gabe has been messing up my switchboard over there, breaking stuff.
Yep.
So I just want to apologize for that, first of all. And, I want to try. So, guys, I'm out here at the Founders Conference right now, and it has been phenomenal. I want to try and take a peek inside. So I'm not going to talk because they actually have a panel going on with Nettles, Dolezal, Askell, and Longshore.
Rachel Dolezal's there?
Vegas.
No.
James, don't do that.
There's a woman on the stage.
But listen, I'm gonna try and sneak in.
Okay, we'll sneak in with you.
Guys, kind of, yeah. So don't say, oh, you guys can talk, but I can't talk. I just want to show you guys kind of like, just what this looks like in here real quick.
Okay. There's not that many people there. It's kind of a small conference.
Oh, look, there they are. Hey, Jared.
Hey, you should go grab Virgil Walker right now. Just go grab him, tap him on the shoulder. Come here.
So what are we getting at with that kind of language?
All right, I'm gonna head out.
Man,
So
that's fantastic. That looks really good. Way to go.
Man, it is. The whole conference has been fantastic. I got to tell you guys, there's one moment that sticks out particularly to me. Oh, they're still laughing over there. I'm gonna go outside now.
Okay.
That's Sarah Askell back there.
Hey, Sarah.
And so that's how actually the first person I got introduced to the. Hey, good to see you. Somebody just called me a beautiful man. I had to say hi to that.
Yeah.
I like
hey, whoa.
So there's been a couple lovely highlights. One of them was they had a panel with Virgil and Daryl from the Just Thinking podcast.
Right.
When they merged the Sword and the Trowel with the Just Thinking podcast. And the reason this one sticks out to me is because their topic was on basically God and government for the most part, biblical government.
Right.
And
theonomy.
Y'all, they used the word theonomy.
They did.
Whoa!
They actually, I mean, it was real. Oh, there you go. Look at this.
Hey, Virgil, what's up?
Hey,
Virgil, you're live on Cross Politics.
Look at guys.
Still on the throne.
Yo, that was so. Y'all start talking about God and government and theonomy. Y'all got me all excited.
I know you got excited.
Right? Boy, they want offerings.
You got happy feet, didn't you?
I was in the back.
Pentecostal, didn't you?
They say I never had to go back. It's kind of always been there.
Hey, Knox.
So
Ask Virgil. Is he going to be at the Fight Laugh Feast rally in South Dakota?
They're asking me if you're going to be at the Fight Laugh Feast rally in South Dakota.
When?
April 29th through May 1st. Yeah, have you not been listening to our show recently?
Yeah, he don't listen to our show. They got millions and millions of downloads every 16 seconds.
Virgil's a club member and he don't listen to our show?
He's a club member. Don't listen to the show. I know it's very embarrassing.
I'm a club member though.
He is a club member. Virgil Walker's a club member.
I'm gonna wonder if I can take these out and it actually just goes right to so Virgil can hear because this is hilarious. There we go.
There you go.
Hey, Virgil.
I got volume from you guys?
Yeah.
Okay, what were you saying?
Yep, you're good. Oh, I was just laughing at Virgil being a club member and not knowing when our conference is.
I'm gonna go back to my earpiece.
Oh, you can't. He can't hear us.
You can't
hear us.
All right. Can you hear us now?
There we go. I hear you. Go ahead.
Biblical interpretation.
I was just laughing that Virgil's a club member. He doesn't know when our Fight Laugh Feast rally is. Kind of. I mean, like.
Yeah, he's a club member, but he doesn't know. He just wants to support good things.
Yeah, way to go. All right.
Listen, I had to tell y'all this. Now I told these guys. So it's my first time meeting Daryl here too. So I've been following these guys for a long time, but the bow tie thing I've never got on with. I've never got on with the bow tie, and so I told him for the first time I never trust a black man in the bow tie.
Yeah.
I never have, and I like these guys.
He had a bad bean pie.
I had
a bad bean pie.
I did have a. How did he know I had a bad bean pie? So here's something. I was talking to. Can you guys hear Virgil when he said?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes, we can.
Sure. Okay. So one of the things that I was wanting. I'm glad you popped up because right now we just had Kamala Harris, the President Kamala Harris. I'm sorry. Potential. She gonna be president. Right. And give her 6 months. But one of the things I was talking to you about was the move and the plays right now that you see happening with the BLM movement. They've got positioned exactly where they want to be right now. What do you see politically that they're going to do, and what should we be looking out for?
Yeah, I think moving forward, what you're going to see is their agenda in full. They'll be pushing Biden to the left even further until either he does what they want or he gets moved over some kind of way. I think they're already. I mean, did you guys see there was that incident where he was walking by the Marine and he was supposed to salute and they told him to salute and he kind of mouthed the words because he didn't know what was really going on.
Right.
I mean, that's the plan. The plan is he'll be like a puppet who's told exactly what to do, exactly how to do it.
Wow.
And if that's not the case, they will move him over and the agenda of Kamala Harris will be in full force. And that'll all be a BLM-focused agenda.
So,
and what do you think their end goal is at the end of the day?
I think it's power. It's disruption. It's overturning the Judeo-Christian culture, Judeo-Christian worldview. I mean, we're going to be dealing with all stuff that you guys have been talking about. We're going to be dealing with all of these issues around rights for government and the like. All kinds of issues are going to be there.
Go ahead, Gabe. Were you going to say something?
I forgot.
I got a load of questions. So as you look at that, you see that move. There's too far in to stop them at this point. Like they're in. So as you look at how we need to be thinking and battling that, from your perspective, what do you think some of our best moves are?
Well, I think believers have got to be informed. They've got to be educated. They've got to know their Bible. Again, we talked last night about state and the government. We've got to understand what the proper roles are, where the lines of distinction are, so that we can take a stand. And we're going to have to be willing to fight in a way that may cost us more than what we've been willing to pay in the short history that we've been around thinking about these kinds of issues.
Oh, there you are.
There we go. Somebody
Knox
called me because I'm supposed to. They called me because I'm supposed to be somewhere and I'm not there, and they like, is Knox lost because his dungeon is waiting for him.
Okay,
he's not in his dungeon. But that's totally fine. That's fine. But I got more questions for Virgil. But
are you ready?
Do you need to close out, or do you need, or you got a couple of minutes?
Look, until the shackles get on my wrist, I don't need to close out yet.
So Knox, can you ask?
Slave up in here.
Can you ask Virgil for us? Virgil Virgil is a theonomist.
So the question is right now. What's today? Today is Friday, right?
Yeah.
Okay. They're wondering, are you a theonomist?
Me?
Yeah.
I think all of us deal with that, with theonomy to a degree.
Yes, he said yes.
He said yes. We'll see you later, Virgil.
You got it.
That's great.
I won about 17 caveats, so go ahead. I'll let you have
all of us address and deal with God's law at some level, right?
Yeah.
And again, it's how we categorize that, how we look at that. I mean, no one's trying to, at least from a standpoint of my view, is imposing the civil order of Israel, the theocracy of Israel into current culture today. But there's aspects of it that we're always dealing with the moral law of God on some level.
That's right.
In some way, shape, or form. We're always dealing with the categories that God has placed: church, government, family. We're always dealing with that in some way, and it's all based on the order of God. So we've got to look at those things and know what that's about.
Hey, Knox, ask Virgil, what does AD stand for?
Gabe asks, what does AD stand for?
AD? Oh. I'm not fooling with you, Gabe.
Anno Domini, year of our Lord.
Oh.
There we go.
Oh, that's how fast he is. You see, I didn't catch it.
Yeah, I knew it.
I wasn't there. He's already there. So, okay. So,
AD all day, Adrian Peterson. That's what we.
Hey guys, it really has been a great conference. That panel that they had, it's interesting right now. Presbyterians had an opportunity, I think, years ago with Greg Bonson to kind of work some of these things out. And in one sense, they kind of shunned him. Mm-hmm. And watching this conversation be revisited, not because we want to have the conversation, but because the world is pressing in on us and we didn't have the answers that we should have had 30, 40 years ago before we got here. And watching it come to the Baptist culture and the Baptist world, in one sense, I kind of feel like, man, it's kind of put us to shame in a lot of senses, because we've had this conversation a long time ago. And we got guys who've written all sorts of economic modeling books on this. Uncle Gary has been a huge blessing to the church. And I think it's just now that his work that he's put in for the last 30, 40 years is going to get revisited because people have this pressing in on them. And it's almost the same thing we've seen in history with councils. Councils developed because they were having problems in the church. What do we do with who God is? What do we do with who Christ is? And how do we operate? Well, we kind of assume some things, but now because of the fight, it's driving us to make very clear how we need to operate. And it's amazing, me being post-millennial, I ain't gonna get you in trouble. Me being post-millennial, the battle is in the civil realm. There's a reason for that. It's not an accident that our battle's in the civil realm. And because it is there, it's making us shore up spheres, homes, churches. What does the state do again? How do they operate?
That's right.
Where do their marching orders come from? And this is why Tom says this all the time. It's God's world. He gets to make the rules. And I think we're realizing that it is God's world. He does get to make the rules. And we're saying, what are the rules that they have to abide by?
Yeah, amen. Wow, that's great.
So,
Knox, we miss you, man. We miss you.
I miss y'all too. Oh, I get to close it out?
Yeah, you do.
Oh, look, if you're single, get married, close your ears. If you're married, have kids, and if you have kids, go baptize them. Until next week, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is Cuss Politics.
Thank you, Knox. You saved the show.
Love you guys.
You saved it, man. Love you. You saved it.
See ya.
All right.
I'm chewing the gun the whole time.
2020. God exposed America with a bunch of viral particles, a plague. God flicked and we buckled. Our political leaders shut down their states in fear. Our pastors abdicated the church as non-essential, and we have been scattered by petty, tyrannical resolutions and edicts into our homes or hiding our shame with masks. Businesses have been shut down by arbitrary non-essential labels. Strip clubs, pot shops, and abortion facilities remained open, while churches were threatened, regulated, and fined. First Amendment rights were trampled on as we Christians were arrested by despotic, unprincipled local governments. Citizens were harassed by unelected health districts, and communities were threatened in their houses by cops. This sounds like a third world country, a bad dream, but it is not. It is the new America. This America is ruled by fear. This America is ruled by opportunistic politicians who don't give a damn about you. This America breeds a compliant citizenry that cares more about their strip clubs and DoorDash deliveries, that cares more about their safety and their comforts than the truth that Jesus is King of Kings and that our freedoms are protected by the Constitution. This America is worse than King George III's America. It's time to take a stand, but to stand requires courage, and courage requires repentance. What we need is reformation and revival in our churches, in our families, in our communities, in our businesses, and in our government. Every square inch needs the blood of Jesus. We need to seize this moment where all our sins, fears, and failures have been exposed by God through this plague, and gather to sing psalms, to feast, and to get strengthened, to be encouraged, and equipped to lead America back to Jesus, who is King of Kings and Lord of Lords. governor after governor instituted some sort of shutdown, ignoring your constitutional rights, there was one governor, one state, that did not buckle and join the crowd of governors driven by fear. Governor Christine Noem has stood strong through this pandemic. And so we are bringing our first annual Fight, Laugh, Feast rally to Rapid City, South Dakota, April 29th through May 1st. Join us in the land of the free and the home of the brave as we learn to love God, sing psalms, and defy tyrants.